The day humanity realized they weren't alone in the universe didn't come with massive ships darkening the skies or broadcasts announcing alien presence. Instead, it began with silence, the complete and sudden silence of every satellite orbiting Earth. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in NASA's mission control, her dark eyes fixed on screens that had gone dark one by one. 20 years of astronomical research hadn't prepared her for this moment. "It's not just our satellites," she announced to the room of increasingly nervous technicians and scientists. Every artificial object in orbit just stopped responding. In the Pentagon's underground command center, General Marcus Rivera received the reports with growing concern. First the satellites, then the International Space Station went dark. But what truly chilled him was what their remaining ground-based telescopes had captured. A distortion in space itself, like a ripple in reality, moving through the solar system. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, her voice steady despite the tension, "we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our database. They're approaching from beyond Mars' orbit." The ripples in space grew more pronounced, and with them came something else, a pressure in the minds of everyone on Earth. It started as a whisper, a faint buzz at the edge of consciousness, but it grew stronger with each passing hour. In hospitals worldwide, doctors reported patients experiencing intense headaches. Children complained of hearing whispers in languages no one understood. What no one knew then was that humanity was experiencing its first contact with the Void Hunters, ancient beings that existed partially in our dimension and partially in another. They hadn't come to conquer Earth. They had come to run from something worse. In Tokyo, 16-year-old Yuki Tanaka was the first to understand the whispers. While others experienced pain, she found clarity in the alien thoughts touching her mind. In her small apartment, surrounded by her computer hardware and half-finished robotics projects, she began translating the alien messages into computer code. The patterns made sense to her in a way she couldn't explain. "They're scared," she typed into her blog, hours before any government would understand the same thing. "They're running from something, and they found something in us they didn't expect." The Void Hunters had detected what humanity had never known about itself, a latent psychic potential buried in human DNA, dormant but powerful. Their arrival, their very presence in our reality, was acting as a catalyst, awakening abilities that had lain dormant for millennia. Dr. Chen discovered this when, in the midst of studying the satellite data, she suddenly found herself able to perceive the quantum states of particles with her naked eye. The equations and theories she'd struggled with for years suddenly became as clear as daylight. Around the world, similar awakenings were occurring. General Rivera felt it too, standing in the command center. The pressure in his mind shifted, and suddenly he could sense the presence of every person in the building, could feel their fears, their determination, their confusion. The ability should have frightened him, but instead, it felt natural, like remembering how to ride a bike after years without practice. The Void Hunters hadn't chosen Earth by random chance. They had detected humanity's potential from across the galaxy. In their own reality, they had once possessed similar abilities, but had lost them over eons of technological advancement. Now, facing an enemy they couldn't defeat with technology alone, they sought those who still held that potential. As the first direct communications were established, through a combination of Yuki's code breaking and the rapidly evolving psychic abilities of key individuals, the true situation became clear. The Void Hunters were mere scouts for a larger migration of their species. Behind them came an enemy they called the Entropy Tide, beings that consumed not just matter and energy, but the very laws of physics themselves. Humanity faced a choice: remain isolated and risk destruction by an enemy they weren't prepared for, or embrace their awakening abilities and join a war they barely understood. The decision would reshape not just Earth, but the very nature of human evolution. Dr. Chen, standing before the hastily assembled United Nations Security Council, put it simply: we're not just making first contact with alien life. We're making first contact with parts of ourselves we never knew existed. The question isn't whether we're ready. It's whether we're willing to become what we were always meant to be. In orbit, the silent satellites began to power back up, but they were changed. Through the awakening abilities of technicians and engineers worldwide, humanity's technology was beginning to merge with their newly awakened psychic potential. The machines weren't just receiving commands. They were responding to human thought itself. The Void Hunters watched from the edge of the solar system, their crystalline ships reflecting the sun's light in patterns that seemed almost like hope. They had found what they were searching for. Now they just had to hope humanity could master their gifts before the entropy tide arrived. In her apartment in Tokyo, Yuki closed her laptop and looked out at the night sky. The stars seemed different now, closer somehow. She could feel the new awareness growing stronger in her mind, and with it came a certainty. Humanity's next chapter would be written not just in the stars, but in the very fabric of consciousness itself. 3 months after first contact, Earth had become unrecognizable. Cities glowed with newfound energy as human consciousness began to merge with technology in ways previously confined to science fiction. But with these changes came unwanted attention from the wider galaxy. In the transformed International Space Station, now a glowing beacon of humanity's evolution, Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the changes sweeping across the planet. Holographic displays danced around her, responding not to touch but to thought. The station itself had become a living thing, its systems intertwined with the collective consciousness of its crew. "We're detecting new signatures at the edge of the system," she announced, her mind directly interfacing with the station's enhanced sensors. "They're not Void Hunters." The new arrivals were the Meridian Collective, one of the galaxy's dominant powers. Their massive ships, each the size of a small moon, dropped out of faster-than-light travel with precision that spoke of technological mastery. Unlike the crystalline vessels of the Void Hunters, these ships were clearly machines of war. General Rivera, now heading Earth's unified defense force, felt their hostile intent before their first transmission arrived. His awakened abilities had grown stronger, allowing him to sense consciousness across vast distances. "They're afraid," he communicated to the Global Defense Network, his thoughts reaching military leaders worldwide instantly. "They see us as a threat." The Meridian Collective's message was simple: quarantine or extinction. They had detected the rapid evolution of human consciousness and deemed it too dangerous to allow unfettered into the galaxy. Their own civilization had achieved its dominance through technological supremacy and the emergence of a species with both technological skill and psychic potential threatened everything they had built. But they weren't the only ones watching. From the shadows of distant nebulae, the synaptic concordat observed with growing interest. An ancient species that had achieved harmony between biological and technological evolution, they saw in humanity a reflection of their own past. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Yuki Tanaka had become something more than human. Her ability to communicate with machines had evolved into a talent for reshaping technology itself. In her workshop, now funded by a desperate Earth government, she worked on integrating Void Hunter crystalline technology with human innovations. "The old rules don't apply anymore," she explained to a group of scientists, her words accompanied by direct mental transmission of complex technical concepts. "We're not just using technology, we're becoming one with it." Her breakthrough came when she successfully merged human consciousness with quantum computing. The result was a new form of artificial intelligence that wasn't truly artificial. It was an extension of human consciousness itself. The first test of this hybrid technology came sooner than anyone expected. A Meridian scout ship, testing Earth's defenses, encountered something unprecedented. The automated defense satellites around Earth didn't just react with programmed responses. They adapted in real time, guided by the collective consciousness of humanity's defense network. The Meridian ship found itself trapped in a web of psychically enhanced technology that rendered its advanced weapons useless. Dr. Chen, watching from the space station, felt the shift in the galaxy's power dynamics. "We're not just defending ourselves," she realized. "We're changing the rules of what's possible." The Void Hunters, still waiting at the edge of the solar system, observed these developments with growing hope. The entropy tide was drawing closer, consuming star systems at an accelerating pace. In humanity's rapid evolution, they saw the potential for salvation. But humanity's awakening had its costs. Not everyone could handle the rapid evolution of their consciousness. Some struggled to maintain their individuality in the growing psychic network. Others fought against the changes, forming resistance groups that saw the transformation as a loss of humanity rather than its evolution. General Rivera faced these challenges daily, balancing the military needs of Earth's defense with the human cost of such rapid change. "We're becoming something new," he told his officers, their minds linked in secure psychic conference. "But we must not lose what makes us human in the process." The Meridian Collective's response to Earth's show of strength was to call for a galactic council. Other species, hidden in the vast expanse of space, began to take notice. Humanity had become impossible to ignore. In her quiet moments, Yuki found herself dreaming of stars she'd never seen, touching minds across distances that should have been impossible. The code she wrote now shaped reality itself, merging the digital and the psychic into something entirely new. The Void Hunters had awakened something in humanity that couldn't be contained. The question was no longer whether humanity would join the galactic community, but how their emergence would reshape the very nature of civilization itself. As Dr. Chen noted in her final transmission of the day, "We're not just taking our place among the stars. We're rewriting the rules of what's possible." The entropy tide moved closer, consuming another star system in the endless dark. Soon, humanity would face its true test, not just mastering their new abilities, but using them to save the galaxy itself. The Meridian Collective's attempt to quarantine Earth had backfired spectacularly. Instead of containing humanity, they had forced Earth to advance decades of planned development into mere weeks. Operation Mindstorm was humanity's answer to their ultimatum. In the enhanced command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, General Rivera stood within a sphere of pure thought. Around him, the combined consciousness of Earth's defense forces created a real-time map of the galaxy. Every ship, every station, every strategic point glowed with different intensities in his mind. "The Meridian Fleet is exactly where we predicted," he communicated to the global network. Their enemies had become predictable. Relying too heavily on AI-driven tactical systems, the humans could now sense and anticipate. Begin Phase 1. In low Earth orbit, Dr. Chen watched as the first wave of humanity's new hybrid ships moved into position. These vessels were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before, part machine, part crystalline technology borrowed from the Void Hunters, and part living consciousness. Each ship was piloted by a crew whose minds were linked not just with each other, but with the vessel itself. "All ships reporting ready," she broadcast, her thoughts carrying not just words, but the emotional certainty of complete preparation. "Quantum entanglement networks are stable." The first phase of Operation Mindstorm began not with a physical attack, but with silence. Using techniques learned from the Void Hunters, human psychics reached out across space and began to quiet the quantum noise of the universe itself. In the command centers of the Meridian Fleet, artificial intelligence systems suddenly found themselves processing contradictory data. Yuki, now stationed aboard the flagship Unity, initiated the code she'd spent weeks perfecting. Her consciousness merged with the ship's systems, spreading through the quantum entanglement network to every vessel in the human fleet. Deploying psychic encryption protocols, she transmitted, "They won't be able to distinguish our ships from background radiation." The Meridian Fleet, spread across the solar system's edge in a blockade formation, never saw humanity's first strike coming. Their advanced sensors, designed to detect any known form of propulsion or energy signature, were blind to ships that existed partially in another dimension of thought. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. Human vessels phased in and out of normal space, guided by the combined consciousness of their crews. Traditional weapons found no targets, while psychically enhanced quantum weapons bypassed shields designed to stop physical attacks. Multiple Meridian vessels disabled, Dr. Chen reported, watching through the enhanced sensors of the space station. Their AI networks are completely confused. They can't coordinate their defense. But the Meridian Collective hadn't become a galactic power through technological prowess alone. As their automated systems failed, they revealed their own secret: cybernetically enhanced commanders who could operate independently of their AI networks. The space around Jupiter's orbit erupted in a display of conventional and psychic warfare never before seen. Meridian energy beams sliced through the void, occasionally finding their marks on human vessels that became too solid for too long. But for every human ship damage, 3 Meridian vessels found themselves with crews unable to think clearly, their minds clouded by targeted psychic interference. General Rivera felt the battle through the combined consciousness of every human participant. "They're adapting," he warned. "Shift to Pattern Delta. Don't let them predict our movements." Pattern Delta was Yuki's masterpiece, a battle strategy that existed as much in code as in thought. Human ships began moving in configurations that seemed random but were guided by a deeper mathematical harmony that resonated with the human consciousness itself. From their observation points, the Void Hunters watched with growing approval. Humanity had taken their teachings and evolved them into something new. The Synaptic Concordat's observers, hidden in the outer system, began transmitting detailed reports back to their civilization. This was no longer just a local conflict. It was the emergence of a new form of warfare. The turning point came when a squadron of human ships, led by a young commander named Maya Patel, executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. Her vessels projected a psychic field so powerful it created a temporary bubble of altered spacetime. 5 Meridian capital ships found themselves flying through what their sensors said was empty space, only to emerge surrounded by human vessels that simply hadn't been there a moment before. Reality is negotiable, Maya transmitted to her targets, her thoughts carrying both authority and an offer of mercy. Surrender or retreat. Those are your only options now. The Meridian fleet's formation broke. Their remaining ships, faced with an enemy they couldn't predict or effectively fight, began jumping to faster-than-light travel. The blockade of Earth was over. In the aftermath, as human ships solidified fully into normal space, General Rivera received an unexpected transmission. The Synaptic Concordat was formally requesting diplomatic contact. More surprisingly, several of the younger races in the galaxy, inspired by humanity's victory, were reaching out as well. Dr. Chen, analyzing the battle data, made a startling discovery. "The psychic abilities we used," she reported to the Unified Command, "they're still growing stronger. This wasn't just a victory. It was a step in our evolution." Yuki, her consciousness still linked to the Unity systems, felt something else, a distant tremor in the quantum field, like an echo of approaching doom. The entropy tide was getting closer, and humanity's victory, impressive as it was, had only prepared them for the real battle to come. "We've proven ourselves against the known," she transmitted to her colleagues, "but our real test will be facing the unknown." The galaxy was changing. Humanity had demonstrated not just their power, but their potential. The question now was whether that potential could evolve quickly enough to face the approaching tide of entropy itself. The victory over the Meridian Collective had changed everything. As Earth's representatives gathered in the newly constructed Orbital Diplomatic Center, a structure that hung in space like a crystalline snowflake, the galaxy's power structure was being rewritten. Dr. Chen found herself in an unexpected role, Earth's chief diplomatic advisor. Her ability to sense the true intentions of alien representatives had made her invaluable. Standing in the center's main chamber, she could feel the swirling currents of thought from a dozen different species. The Synaptic Concordat is genuine in their desire for alliance, she transmitted to General Rivera, who watched from a secure command center below. But the Meridian remnants are planning something. Their defeat has made them desperate. The Concordat's representatives were unlike anything humanity had expected. They appeared as shifting patterns of light and consciousness, their physical forms mere vessels for minds that had evolved beyond simple biology. Their offer was simple but profound. They would help humanity prepare for the entropy tide in exchange for access to study human psychic development. Your species has achieved in months what took us millennia. The Concordat's primary consciousness transmitted. The combination of your technological innovation and psychic potential is unique in our experience. But not everyone welcomed these new alliances. Maya Patel, now commanding Earth's Rapid Response Fleet, detected increasing unrest in the outer colonies. Some humans feared losing their identity in the rush to evolve. Others worried about becoming pawns in a galactic game they didn't fully understand. Yuki, working from her new position as head of Earth's Hybrid Technology Division, saw both the promise and the peril of their situation. The quantum computers she had merged with human consciousness were revealing patterns in spacetime itself. The entropy tide wasn't just destroying matter. It was unraveling the very laws of physics. We need more than allies, she transmitted to the global network. We need a fundamental understanding of reality itself. The Void Hunters, who had remained quietly observant since their initial contact, finally revealed why they had chosen Earth. Through complex quantum equations that Yuki could now understand, they showed that human consciousness had a unique property. It could adapt to and influence quantum states in ways that even the most advanced alien races couldn't match. General Rivera, coordinating Earth's expanding defense network, received troubling reports. The Meridian Collective, though defeated, had begun sharing their advanced technology with several younger races. They were building a counter-alliance, one founded on fear of humanity's rapid evolution. "They're calling us a threat to the natural order," he communicated to the Unified Command, claiming our abilities will destabilize the galaxy. In the midst of these political maneuvers, Dr. Chen made a discovery that changed everything. Working with Concordat scientists, she found that human psychic abilities weren't just growing stronger. They were beginning to influence the fundamental forces of the universe itself. "We're not just reading quantum states," she explained to a stunned council of human and alien leaders. "We're starting to write them, to change them." The implications were staggering. If humans could influence reality at its most basic level, they might be able to counter the entropy tide's unraveling effect. But such power also made them a target. The first attack came not from the Meridian Collective, but from a coalition of younger races who feared humanity's growing influence. A fleet of ships appeared near Mars, using technology clearly supplied by the Meridians. But they had underestimated how far humanity had evolved. Maya Patel's response was swift and decisive. Her fleet, now incorporating Concordat enhancements, didn't just defeat the attackers, they gave them a demonstration of why humanity was worth allying with rather than fighting. "We could destroy you," she transmitted to the attacking fleet. "Instead, let us show you what we can achieve together." Through a combination of technology and psychic projection, she shared visions of the approaching entropy tide, showing them why unity was their only hope for survival. The effect was immediate. The attacking fleet stood down, and several of the younger races began secret negotiations to switch allegiances. Yuki, meanwhile, had made a breakthrough in understanding the entropy tide. Working with Void Hunter data and her own enhanced consciousness, she had begun to map its movement through space-time. What she found was terrifying. "It's not just coming," she reported to Earth's leadership. "It's accelerating, and it's changing course, heading directly for populated systems." The revelation galvanized the growing alliance. The Synaptic Concordat shared their most advanced technology. The Void Hunters revealed ancient knowledge they had kept hidden for millennia. Even some moderate factions within the Meridian Collective began secret overtures for cooperation. Dr. Chen, sensing the shifts in the galaxy's political currents, understood what was happening. "We're not just building an alliance," she told the assembled representatives. "We're creating something that's never existed before, a true union of different species and technologies, centered around humanity's unique abilities." But time was running out. As the coalition grew stronger, the entropy tide grew closer. Humanity had proven they could unite the galaxy, but could they save it? General Rivera, looking at the latest strategic projections, knew they would soon find out. "We've changed the galaxy's politics," he transmitted to Earth's leadership. "Now we have to change its physics." The final battle would require everything humanity had learned, everything they had become. And in the quantum computers of Earth's defense network, calculations were already showing that even that might not be enough. The entropy tide arrived like a wave of unreality, a front of impossibility that turned the laws of physics into suggestions. As it approached the Arcturus system, even looking at it through enhanced sensors caused headaches. Reality itself objected to its existence. Dr. Chen stood in the Unity's observation deck, her consciousness merged with the ship's sensors, watching as the impossible became visible. The entropy tide wasn't just destroying matter. It was erasing the fundamental forces that held the universe together. "It's beautiful, in a terrifying way," she transmitted to the assembled fleet. The combined forces of Earth, the Synaptic Concordat, and even the reformed Meridian Collective had gathered for humanity's most ambitious plan yet. Yuki, her mind simultaneously present in a dozen quantum computers throughout the fleet, had finally understood what they were facing. "It's not just entropy," she explained through the fleet's psychic network. "It's a breakdown in the quantum observer effect. Reality itself is forgetting how to exist." The plan they had developed was either brilliant or insane, probably both. Humanity's unique ability to influence quantum states through consciousness would be pushed to its absolute limit. They weren't just going to fight the entropy tide. They were going to remind the universe how to be real. General Rivera, coordinating the massive fleet from the Enhanced Combat Information Center, felt the weight of countless minds connected through the psychic network. "All forces report ready," he transmitted. "Begin Operation Reality Lock." Maya Patel led the first wave, her ships moving in patterns that resembled the mathematical structure of reality itself. The Void Hunters had taught them that consciousness and reality were more deeply connected than anyone had suspected. Now, humanity would prove it. The fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their positions forming vast, multidimensional patterns in space. Concordat ships projected fields of stabilized space-time, while Meridian vessels used their advanced technology to anchor points of normal physics against the approaching tide of unreality. As the entropy tide reached the fleet's outer perimeter, the true battle began. Ships began to flicker and distort as reality itself became uncertain. Crew members reported seeing multiple versions of themselves, possibilities bleeding through from other quantum states. "Hold the line," Maya transmitted, her consciousness reaching out to steady her pilots. "Remember who you are. Remember what is real." Yuki initiated the core of their strategy. Through the quantum computers and the vast network of linked human minds, she began to project a template of reality itself, a reminder to the universe of how its laws were supposed to work. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Where human consciousness touched the entropy tide, reality began to stabilize. The laws of physics reasserted themselves, like ice crystals forming in supercooled water. But the tide fought back. Waves of unreality crashed against their psychic barriers. Ships were caught in zones where time moved backwards or stopped entirely. Some vessels reported their crews devolving into pure energy, others de-evolving into simpler forms. Dr. Chen, monitoring the quantum states of space-time itself, saw something unprecedented. "The barrier between consciousness and reality is breaking down completely," she transmitted. "We're not just observing the universe anymore. We're participating in its fundamental processes." The Synaptic Concordat ships added their power to the human effort, their ancient knowledge of consciousness combining with humanity's raw potential. The Void Hunters, their crystalline ships glowing with impossible energies, anchored points in space, where reality remained absolute. General Rivera felt the strain through the psychic network as human minds were pushed to their limits and beyond. Some broke under the pressure, their consciousness scattered across quantum possibilities. Others evolved further, becoming something more than human. But at the heart of the maelstrom, Yuki made a discovery that changed everything. It's not destroying reality, she transmitted, her consciousness spread across 1,000 quantum states. It's creating a new one, and we can guide it. Understanding bloomed across the fleet's collective consciousness. They weren't just fighting the entropy tide. They were participating in the universe's evolution. Human consciousness, with its unique ability to collapse quantum possibilities into reality, could shape what came next. Maya's fleet began to move in new patterns, no longer trying to stop the tide but to guide it. The Concordat and Meridian ships followed their lead, creating channels through which the energy of change could flow safely. "We are the observers," Dr. Chen transmitted to all ships, "and we choose what becomes real." Through their combined will, through technology and consciousness, and the raw power of human determination, they began to shape the chaos into order. The entropy tide didn't end, it transformed. Reality shifted, evolved, but it didn't break. When it was over, when the new laws of physics settled into place, the galaxy found itself changed. Humanity had done more than save reality. They had helped it grow. The barrier between consciousness and physics had been permanently altered. The universe was aware of itself in a way it hadn't been before. General Rivera, looking out at a sky that seemed somehow more alive, more aware, felt the change in his own consciousness. Humanity had evolved along with the universe they had helped to save. Yuki, her mind now able to touch the fabric of reality itself, understood what they had become. "We're not just observers anymore," she transmitted to Earth. "We're caretakers of reality itself." The galaxy would never be the same. The alliance that had formed to face the entropy tide became permanent, not an empire, but a coalition of species united by their shared role as conscious participants in the universe's evolution. Dr. Chen, in her final report to Earth's leadership, put it simply: "We didn't just save reality. We helped it grow up, and we grew up with it." The stars seemed brighter now, more alive. Humanity had found its place not just among alien species, but in the fundamental workings of the universe itself. It wasn't the end of their story, it was the beginning of a whole new kind of reality.